and welcome to a Friday Fun. Yes, I've got an Osmose here, which I'm very pleased at. They're quite hard to get hold of, but I will come straight to the point. The reason we're doing this video, it's a sponsored video, is because Osmose tell us that there's stock coming in. The end of the year, beginning of January, there will be units to buy because a lot of people have been after it. It's one of those keyboards that's sort of quite groundbreaking. Why is it groundbreaking? Well, looking at it, it sort of looks very familiar. I mean, the keyboard looks like a regular keyboard, but it's really not. It has an incredibly, if I go back to, it's incredibly sensitive. It's got an initial velocity, then an additional aftertouch, plus you can modulate the pitch, each key, but it's also got some really interesting in this other patch. Some very expressive tones, and essentially each patch in here almost feels like an entire instrument that you have to kind of learn the nuances of how it's played. And all I did with that, as you saw, was basically layer up two things in the Boss RC505 Mark II and then play over the top with that sort of, it's sort of sounds like an acoustic guitar. And that's because the actual sound engine in here is the Eagan Matrix, which is very big on kind of physical modelling. You don't get access to all of the sound parameters for making such a patch, but when you change presets, effectively you get access to the synth macros, which are, depending on what each patch is, will depend on what these knobs do. So you can hear that adds a bit of brightness to it. That changes the tone of the sound. And the body, because there's a sort of resonator. So it goes from almost nylon to steel string. So there's quite a lot of expressivity, but like I say, if we go into here, then we've got sort of things like global effects, EQ, compressor. Okay, so we can modify the sound quite a lot, just not the kind of building blocks. To do that, you need the Eagan Matrix editor, which I've tried, had a go at. It's quite impenetrable, but there are lots of patches available for it, and there are plenty in here as well. In fact, if I go to the presets here, that was 3 patches that I found beginning with A. So ambient analog 2, which is this sort of rather which was the sound I used as the sort of rhythmic component of the loop. And it reminds me very much of sort of Germanic DSP synth, maybe very much like the Delta Set A or Access Virus. It's got that kind of real corner to the filter, and a sound that, you know, normally we're hearing kind of acoustic models, but it does do synths. Then I've got this pad here, which is we look at the macros of these. If I just scroll back, we've got, we can set the interval. A delay, amount of modulation. As you can see, these are all sort of different depending on what sort of synth engine there is, and these are decided by the patch designer. Then you've got control over the sensitivity, control over the global effects, the EQ, the compression, gain, voice, and mod. The mod will, in this case, assign to the tremolo. And the thing is about what happens about the synth engine here, or the playing surface, is it's incredibly high resolution playing. And I know we've seen other instruments, we've seen the Roley, we've seen the Linstrument, we've seen the Haken. This is very much, I think the reason that people are so keen on this is because it's a very familiar key layout. So it's very easy to kind of play notes just on a basic level. But I can bend individual notes. And I've got individual sort of aftertouch on 2 levels. It's also incredibly sensitive. So in that way, it's quite fun to play. So what did I do here? I basically just built this loop. you heard. That's the analog sort of sounding one, and I've got this guy on the top. And then the final patch is the acoustic guitar. I programmed these slightly differently and save them in the user patches. So if we go, actually, you just go to the presets and I go to factory, there are a ton of them, and we can actually we can filter, you know, so that each one of those essentially is a patch, I suppose. So I went to the user and I say factory and I saved them, my first three. So I'll be doing a few of these, I hope, just to sort of get you more of a flavour, because this is such a deep instrument and it encourages playing. You might notice I played a few jazzy notes there, and that's because my desire to express the notes sort of outstripped my ability to do it, which I obviously will get better at, but it really encourages you to be more adventurous in the notes that you pick, because you can slide. Slide around. I mean, I'm putting a G sharp in there and it's sort of, that's a bit weird, but it sort of works at certain points. Anyway, that's it. I will play out with a little bit more of this, and thanks for watching. Maybe it'll inspire you to get a synth on the table and just play.